Hi, everyone. I'm Diana Graber, and I'm the founder of Cyber Civics, and I'm very excited to share our curriculum with you today. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so if you're not familiar with Cyber Civics, we are a digital literacy curriculum for grades 4 through 8. We were founded a long time ago in terms of digital literacy. We were founded in 2012. A little backstory, at that time, I had just completed a master's program in something called media psychology and social change, wrote a paper about it that you see here. And at that time, my own kid's school experienced its first ever cyberbullying incident. So the principal came to me and said, oh my gosh, what do we do? How do we get ahead of these issues that are certain to happen more and more as time goes on? So I was very lucky to be able to call on researchers and academics I had met in media literacy and information literacy and put together this program that has since become Cyber Civics. I wrote a book about it in 2019 called Raising Humans in a Digital World, Helping Kids Build a Healthy Relationship with Technology. And today, Cyber Civics is taught in schools across the US and internationally. And schools seem pretty happy. We enjoy a 98% renewal rate, which I hear is pretty good. So hopefully you'll see what it is that people like. Okay, so when we were putting Cyber Civics together, we were very intentional about the type of curriculum we wanted to offer in digital literacy. So we followed what's called the 4 pillars of learning framework. Number 1, we wanted it to be active learning. We wanted it to require thinking and intellectual effort rather than simply engaging in cause and effect interactions. We wanted the kids to have engagement in the learning process. It was very important to us that they focused on activities rather than just information delivery. Meaningful learning, that means we wanted the content given to kids in a way that's meaningful to their everyday experiences and taught in a manner that can be contextualized within existing knowledge. When you think about digital literacy, that's so important because this is something they're experiencing 24/7. So it's got to make sense to them in that way. And then finally, social interaction. Digital tools are all about engaging with people socially. And so we wanted the students to interact meaningfully with the content and with other students, because by discussing their digital lives with others, that's when they create the norms that they take into their digital world. So that's what we really focused on when we were putting Cyber Civics together. And today it's what you see here on the right. We start with what's called digital on-ramps that I'll show you in a minute. And then we move into our middle school middle literacy program, which is digital citizenship, information literacy, and media literacy. Lessons are scaffolded in a way that makes sense of this really confusing digital world. We're very intentional about meeting students where they are developmentally. So as you'll see in a moment, the way we deliver media literacy lessons in 4th grade is really different from how it looks in 8th grade. Lessons are delivered by teachers in the classroom. Don't worry, what the kids need is you and your expertise. We give you help with all the rest. We give you slides and less easy to deliver these lessons. And then finally, our emphasis is really on teaching students to use technology ethically, safely, and productively. All right, so what is digital literacy? I love this definition from Media Smarts. It's a wide variety of ethical, social, and reflective practices that are embedded in work, learning, leisure, and daily life. It's everything, right? And the way we teach it is in 3 different levels. So in 6th grade, we start with digital citizenship, which is the safe, responsible use of digital tools. And then we move to information literacy, which is how to find, retrieve, analyze, and use online information. And then finally, media literacy, which is how to critically evaluate and effectively produce media. All of this comes under the big umbrella of digital literacy. So we started with our middle school program, the 3 things I just showed you, and people were coming to us saying, what do you have for younger kids? Because kids are getting online younger and younger. And we knew that, but we wanted to stay true to our values, which is, keep kids off of, technology as long as you can, equip them with the really basic skills to keep them safe when they do go online, and then really address those deeper topics when they meet middle school. So before that, we thought, let's see what we can put together for that younger late elementary group. So we came up with digital on-ramps, and this is where we really focus on the social emotional skills that kids will need when they go online, and also just prepares them with the very basics of tech use and tech safety. Remember, kids at this age, they're really black and white thinkers, very concrete thinkers. So we want to give them very practical skills. And so it begins with an exploration of values. And we think values are like a compass that can guide us to make good decisions online and off. So we start there. And then we move into lessons on very basics of tech use and also how to keep safe when you do go online. So the best way to understand digital on-ramps is to see it. So I'm going to take a moment here to show it to you. Bear with me as I change to my other screen. Get rid of this. Okay, so what you see here is the landing page for the way Cyber Civics works is that when a school, homeschool family, district signs up, any teacher planning to use that curriculum gets their own private portal. So this is what they see. They go in, and here are all the lessons. So they're organized in the way that you would teach them. There's a getting started guide that I'll show you in a minute. But as teachers move through the lessons, these little orange circles fill in so you know where you left off the next time that you log in. So I'm going to show you the getting started guide. You'll see here. So very short guide that tells you how to get started teaching cyber civics. It's never really more than a few pages long, but just basically gives you the ins and outs of the program. And then it takes you right into the lessons. So the way digital on-ramps is organized is it starts with these lessons on values. So this first lesson that you're looking at here, it's right this, what are your values? There's actually two parts to it. But what this lesson does is it teaches kids, again, a value is like a compass that helps you make decisions when you go online. So there's a fun activity here where they fill out a compass. And then all of the values lessons come in pairs. And that's what I really love about them. They first explain what the value is in the real world, and then it tells you how that value can help you be safe and productive when you go online. So I'm going to start by showing you the pair that are the value of cooperation. So this is the first lesson. It talks about cooperation in the real world. The way digital on-ramps works is it's anchored by these cute little videos. And then there's a lesson plan that the teacher downloads to guide the student through it. So I'm going to start with the little video here.
My friends and I have this group project for school. We all have a lot of different ideas, and there's a lot of work to get done too. So, how are we going to be able to work together? Through something called cooperation. What is cooperation? It's like teamwork, where everyone brings their unique strengths and talents to achieve a common goal. Cooperation isn't just helpful for schoolwork either, it's everywhere. From space missions to creating awesome music, people achieve amazing things when they work together. Here's an example. Our project requires us to write an essay, make a diagram, and present it to the class. That would be one person. But since we're all working together and we each have unique strengths, we should be able to put our heads together to divide and conquer.
Okay, so you get the gist there. Let me go back. I'm going to download what the teacher sees now. This is their lesson plan, and I'll make it a little bigger so you can see it here. But it's basically like their script to deliver the lesson. It gives you the key standards, the learning objectives, the vocabulary, and it reviews the lesson. Every lesson in Cyber Civics, whether it's digital on-ramps or the middle school program, has an activity for the student. In this one, the students have to pretend that they're working on a group project on desert mammals, and it talks about how they would divide and conquer to do this and be cooperating with their other members of their group. So for example, it tells them, this is your group, meet Rachel. She never gets nervous talking in front of large groups of people. What do you think her task should be? Or meet Spencer, he's a good artist. What should his tasks be? So a very simple activity to underscore what they just learned. So the next lesson, or the pair that comes with this, is the value of cooperation online. As you know, we all have to cooperate with vast groups of people when we do use the internet.
When using the internet, you'll likely interact with a lot of different people. Some who you know, and possibly some who you don't know at all. The online world is huge after all, and full of people with different interests, strengths, goals, and opinions. With so many people online to interact with, you'll likely find yourself needing to cooperate in all sorts of groups with all sorts of people. For example, have you ever played a game online with other people? Maybe you are all on a team with a shared goal. In this sort of circumstance, you probably all had to work together to win, And winning is a lot easier when everyone is willing to cooperate, which means communicating, being polite, and getting along. Imagine how much harder it would be if one of you was yelling, being nasty, not sharing information, or refusing.
All right, so you get the gist there. I'm going to quickly open up the teacher guide. I'm sorry, yeah, the learning. Make it a little bigger for you. And again, set up just like the other one. You can follow it like a script to go over with your students what they just learned in the video. And for this one, we give them 4 tips for cooperating with others online. Communicate effectively, be respectful, think twice, do your part. I love the activity with this lesson. A lot of kids at this age, they're maybe playing video games, or they have friends, or they hear about video games. So they get to play one on paper. They pick their character, they draw their own. And then we talk about things that children would have to participate or communicate with others about if they were cooperating online. So for example, oftentimes in a video game, you would build a place to live. Together with other players, you'll have to design a structure, decide how to build it, collect the materials you need, and finally build it. Describe how you could cooperate with other players to get this work done. So in this example, students can either give their answer in writing, or if they prefer to draw the answer, they can do that. And there's a few more questions that come with this lesson on how they might cooperate with others while playing a video game. So we really try to make these lessons applicable to things that kids like, or that they're hearing about, or that will really happen when they do go online. All right, so after you get through your unit on values, we move into getting ready to take flight. And this little section is all about, like, how does search work? What is the internet? How does the internet work? What happens when you get a search result? And how do you take care of your devices, which is a very important lesson for kids this age. And then unit 3, are you really ready? We have lessons like having an online presence, think before you post, asking for and giving consent, very important, managing your emotions online. And I'm going to show you this one. Is it true or not? This is our 4th grade version of media literacy. You can't believe everything you see. So let me just play a moment of that for you.
Whoa! It says right here that aliens just landed. I can't believe this. Turns out I really couldn't believe it, because it wasn't true. Did you know that not everything you see online is true? While the internet is an awesome place to find information on just about anything, we still have to use our critical thinking skills to evaluate the information.
So it goes on to teach kids, what they should do if they run across something like that. How would they evaluate it to know if it's true or not? The funny thing is, when we made that video and decided to start it with the alien thing, we ended up reading research just a little bit afterwards that the belief that aliens landed was really a conspiracy theory that many late elementary school students believed. So it's very applicable to their real lives. But I was going to show you the activity for this lesson because I love it. It gives children 2 different articles to read, really short, easy to read articles, and it gives them a checklist. Is it true or not? The article seems like it's from an expert. The article looks like it's from a recognized organization. It includes evidence. Others are reporting the story too. So it gives kids sort of a little rubric they can use when they run across things, wondering if it's true or not. And it's kind of hard to tell, even for an adult, which of those stories is true. All right, so just to finish up digital on-ramps, we have a lesson on understanding people's perspectives, important. And then our Keeping Safe series, keeping safe while browsing from scams, from strangers, and opening your first account. So that's a really quick look at digital on-ramps. Again, super easy to teach. A lot of schools will just fit this in. It's 45 minutes. So whether it's during an English language arts class or advisory period or whatever, pretty easy to get in once a week. There's enough lessons here to hopefully take you through a year or 2 between 4th and 5th grade. We also give you the links of these videos online if you wanted to share them with parents. It's great when parents and child watch these together. They have things to talk about and they can be on the same page when it comes to technology use. All right, so I am going to move now to level 1. This is our middle school program. I'm super proud of it. It's been around for quite a while now, so we've got it really dialed in. This level is all about digital citizenship, which is the safe and responsible use of digital tools. Again, this is a landing page you see when you subscribe to Cyber Civics. A teacher gets their own account. Here are all the materials you have. a little more robust than what you saw for digital on-ramps. We have a little longer getting started guide that basically gets you prepared for the year to teach these lessons. The next thing you'll see is our at-home teaching guide. As I mentioned earlier, many homeschool groups and families and even parents whose kids don't get these lessons in school will teach cyber civics at home. So we give you a little guide to make that super easy to do. We also have a send home letter that parents get. This is if you're teaching in school, you can send this home to your parents so they understand what the lessons are that their students will be getting in school, and they're usually pretty thrilled about it because they love it that kids are prepared to use technology wisely and safely. And you also get the little syllabus in there. In this level, we also give you pre and post assessments. And then you'll see here that the lessons are broken into units. Every unit has about 3 to 5 lessons in them. We start with a unit on being a detective, which is basically technology use. How does it work? What's inside a computer? Citizenship, which covers what it means to be a citizen in today's world. We're citizens not only of our physical environments, but of these huge online environments and communities. And how do we be a good citizen there? We move to your digital reputation. And I'm actually going to use this as my example so I can show you how a unit is set up. So in middle school, you'll see the PDF or the teacher guide right there on the left. You can also download it, super easy. This is what the teachers see at the beginning of every unit that basically tells them about the lessons coming. I promise you it's short. You don't need to know much, as I mentioned earlier, to teach cyber civics. And then the next thing you see is our send home parent letter. I love these. What the teacher does here is they write in the date that they teach the lesson. And there's an activity that aligns with every lesson you teach. So parent and child can do that together at home. And it really drives home the message of whatever you taught that day. And again, we also offer these links to the parents in case they want to watch the videos together with their children. All right, so here is a typical lesson in middle school. Again, you see the lesson plan is here on your left. You have the key standards, the learning objectives. And then to make it really easy on you, we have Google Slides for every lesson. This is what you see here. I'm not going to do it full screen so I can move through it more quickly, but basically it teaches a lesson for you. You don't see them here, but there's going to be speaker notes at the bottom. You can actually read the notes, but it walks you through the lesson. It tells the kid what a reputation is. We really try to encourage discussion in cyber civics. So almost every lesson opens with a question that you can have a little discussion, little warm-up discussion with your students. Have you ever heard this phrase before? Your reputation precedes you. What do you think this means? Talk about that. You can introduce the term, and then our videos are always embedded in the slides, so you know exactly how to play them.
Have you ever heard this saying before? Your reputation precedes you. What is a reputation anyway? It is the judged opinion that people in general hold towards something or someone. So, if your reputation precedes you, that means that people will have probably heard things about you before they've even actually ever met you. These things could be positive or negative, or even true or false. And the place where people will have probably learned things about you before they've met you face to face is here. All of the information about you.
All right, so you get the gist, and then you can just move through the rest of the slides. In this particular lesson, we tell kids a story you may remember when students applied to Harvard years ago and they were accepted, but then they posted inappropriate things online that affected their digital reputations, and they lost their ability to attend Harvard. Horrible, horrible story. So they remember that as you move to the activity. Again, every lesson has a hands-on activity. You know it's there. It's time for it when you see this slide. So for this activity, it's called digital background check. The students have to pretend their college job is to decide which of 2 final candidates will be the lucky recipient of a full scholarship to their college. And their decision should be based on the applicant's digital reputation, consider their honesty, maturity, and moral character. So that's what's happening today in a lot of schools. So very applicable. Here is the first candidate. And I will say, this is one of the lessons we're working on right now. We're updating it for next year. One thing I have not mentioned yet about Cyber Civics is we update the curriculum every year. It is super current. There is so much changing and happening. We want to make sure that it's relevant to the students' lives and it's keeping pace with how fast technology is changing. So you'll see a lot of changes every year when you subscribe to Cyber Civics. So here's our first candidate. He talks about how great he is. He's a soccer player. He has a high GPA. Then we look at his digital background. So you'll see here, TP to neighbor's house, put it on YouTube. He allegedly hacked into the school computer. Not very nice things he posted. And guess what? He got kicked off the science club, according to the Facebook page. So none of these things are really horrible, but it's so funny to do this lesson with students. I've taught it a million times and they're always like, oh no, Mrs. Graber, we would not give that kid a scholarship. Let's see who the next candidate is. And so the next one, another great kid. She's, on the track team, high GPA. She's in the honor society. She wants to be an English major. All these little clues, right? And then we look at her digital reputation. Well, guys, guess what? Horrible speller, not very good writer. And gosh, we go to the school website and her name is not on the honor roll. And we look at her Pinterest page and she plagiarized somebody and also poor spelling. And by the way, she participated in an unfortunate TikTok challenge. And her rating on her tutor.com site was not very high. So then we give kids this analysis worksheet and they have to decide which of the two kids they would give a scholarship to. And again, even though those things aren't so horrible, students are harder on each other than we would ever be on them and usually decide not to give it to anybody. But what I love about this lesson is the second part where it goes even deeper and it challenges them to think about their assumptions. For example, did you consider this? Maybe the David Danning who hacked into his school's computer was a different Dave. And it was, because if they read closely, he played a different sport. So there's a bunch of these. Another one, for example, is, did you think Sarah wasn't on the honor roll because her name didn't appear on the website? Well, did you ever think about how often schools update their websites? Not that often. So again, really challenges them to poke at their assumptions. And that's kind of the beauty of doing this with kids over time, is you really can think deeply about the underlying lessons in almost every lesson you do. In this one, don't jump to conclusions when viewing online information. Maybe you can't control what you post about yourself, but can you control what your friends post about you? But you should be careful about who you choose to friend and follow online. So a lot of lessons within that lesson. Wanted to say is, again, those of us who work here at Cyber Civics, we've been lucky enough to teach these lessons. So they've all been tried and tested in the classroom. And I can tell you, there was never a time I walked into a room and was about to teach a topic that it wasn't relevant to something that had just happened in the kids' lives, whether it was cyberbullying or misinformation or hate speech, whatever. They are living with this stuff so deeply. So there are so many chances to talk to them about these really tough things that they're dealing with. Oftentimes they're uncomfortable to take to their parents, but they will talk about it amongst their peers. So that's the other beauty of teaching cyber civics in the classroom. So I'm going to move on here. You saw our digital reputation unit. We have a unit ethical thinking, which has some wonderful lessons, email etiquette, texting and video etiquette. Big unit on cyberbullying and digital drama. We start really with some lessons on empathy that are so important. What is cyberbullying? How to be upstanding, which I love this lesson, because the nice thing about being online is if someone's treated cruelly there, a lot of people see it, which means a lot of people could step in and do something about it. So we give the kids, tools, what they can do. And this is a really hands-on lesson where we give them a little story and they have to complete the comic, either in writing or drawing the end of it, like what an upstander do in this cyberbullying situation. And then the last one there is, what would you do if you were the target, to give them the tools if they were ever cyberbullied. And then our final unit is, who am I online? It's all about identity and privacy. You have to remember that these are kids that are just starting to present themselves online. So we want them to have boundaries to know what sort of information is safe to share with others and what kind of information perhaps they should keep more private. My selfie is a really wonderful lesson to think about this in terms of the pictures you post online, because a selfie takes a lot of information, shares a lot of information with people. And so the way that we get kids to really understand that, it's to have them evaluate the original selfies, which are these guys. Remember, these self-portraits are essentially selfies, right? And looking at this picture, you can get a lot of information. So we have them think about that and then draw their own selfie. So that kind of takes you through the entirety of our first level. You can kind of get a sense there. The lessons are super hands-on, super fun, um, not fear-inducing. We try to really give them a strong foundation on being safe and responsible online. And that's important when we move to level 2, which I'll go to next. Let me just move this here. Okay, so after that full year of teaching digital citizenship, my students were like, oh, wow, I never want to go online. There's way too much responsibility. And, that wasn't really what I was after. I want kids to be empowered to use technology in really empowering ways, really ways where they can learn and, do great things. So I thought the next step should really be information literacy, and that's how to find, retrieve, analyze, and use online information. And we really looked around and we could not find a comprehensive curriculum on this. So we created our own, which is you're going to see right now. So this year, again, is like the others. We start with this getting started guide and all the teaching at home guide, what I showed you previously, student pre and post assessments. You'll see here that we have an optional prep lesson. This is changing next year. We're actually offering 2 lessons here on device, one-to-one device, maintenance and care and responsible use. Kids will be using computers more for these lessons, so we want to prepare them with that. And that can actually, you can pull that out and teach that at any level depending on your school. And then we have a unit on learning balance, which is basically allowing kids to take a look at how they spend their time and to start thinking about, gosh, is this wasteful time? Is this useful time online? And then online safety, because before they start using the internet as a research tool, they need to be prepared with these basic safety skills. This is a lesson I'm going to show you because it's very pertinent. I'm working on it this week because it really needs updating. So many scams right now are targeting young people, and they need to be aware of those. So I'm going to quickly show you the slides that tells you what a scam is. And I'll play just a moment of this.
Are you afraid of sharks? Don't worry, your chances of getting attacked by one is only about 1 in 3.75 million. But your chances of becoming the victim of a cyber attack? Well, that's 1 in 4. Yep, that's right. Cyber criminals have become...
All right, so we go through and we talk about all the different kinds of online threats they should know about, phishing attempts. But what I love about it, it gives them tips on what they can do if they encounter any of these things. And then we cover kind of scams that kids are really prone to, like online shopping scams, influencer scams, that's a big one, quiz scams. And then this is perhaps the one that's most concerning right now, I think, for this age group, phishing for you.
While scrolling through his feed one day, Ramon noticed that he received a new follower request. Most of his followers were people he already knew, but this new follower looked like a girl his age, so he accepted. Suddenly, this mystery girl began sending Ramon messages, asking him personal questions. She asked him to send her.
So you can see where this is going. This is called catfishing. This is really, really happening a lot, prevalent right now with our middle school students. So it's important for them to be aware of it and to have tips and know what to do should they encounter it, or if their friends or happens to their friends. So we discuss that in this lesson, which is really important. And again, activity for every single lesson. This one's super fun. We give the kids green, yellow, and red flags. Actually, it's in your student packet. They can cut them up and have them ready to hold up. But you read scenarios aloud that we provide you, and the kids hold up the flag like green, hey, totally safe, or red, no way, or yellow, I'm not sure. And what's nice is in your teacher packet, you get discussion guides, so you can talk to the kids about the scenario and know what to say and know what's appropriate. So we give you all of those assets. All right, so I'm going to move to the next one. Now we move to our searching the web unit. So in here we have elements of web search, how does search work, constructing a search query. Now, you might ask yourself a couple questions. Does this matter in the world of AI? Absolutely. So we've done a ton of research on this, and the basics of web search are still very, very important, especially with AI results coming up now when you search, because kids need to have the basics of research down. Their best information is still going to come from the links that come below the AI, because we know that AI makes mistakes. And also they need to know how to write a good query because a prompt is a query. So they need to know how to put the words together and how to evaluate what they get. One thing I have not mentioned yet is AI literacy. That hasn't come up. And the reason for that is we embed it throughout Cyber Civics. You're going to start now seeing a lot of lessons that mention AI in a lot of different facets. AI is not one thing. It's in search, it's in misinformation, it's in personal information. So again and again, you're going to start now seeing lessons about AI, and we do mention them throughout the search unit. So this one, constructing a search query, I'll just play a little bit of this for you so you get a sense of what these lessons are like.
The internet is full of great information. All you have to do is search for it. In a matter of seconds, you might get exactly what you were searching for, and the amazing thing is that all of this happens in the blink of an eye. Here's how search engines like Google are able to respond to your search query so fast. Web crawlers, sometimes called spiders, are constantly crawling around the internet gathering information from billions of websites. All of this information ends up in Google's search index. So when you type in your search query, the search engine has already done its homework and is ready to give you your answer. It does this by looking at each keyword in your query and then retrieving pages containing that word. Because it is matching every word in your query, some words are more useful than others. Even though search engines are becoming better and smarter every day at understanding our intent, we get better results when we use better keywords. But remember, search engines are not mind readers. So limiting your search to just 1 or 2 keywords might not give you the sort of styles you were looking for. Although he does have some style, doesn't he?
Whoa.
Writing a search query with just the
I'm sorry, I had to play it to that point because it always puts a smile on my face. And one thing I haven't mentioned is our videos and our narration is all done by former Cyber Civics students, which is fun because it makes it really relevant. They seem to understand what makes middle schoolers laugh, what engages them. So hopefully the lessons are really exciting to the kids. So this one, we teach them really just the basics here. Like, here's how you write a good search query. It's like math. There's steps that you follow to get to the right result. So we give you those steps to do with your students. Okay, so the search unit continues with lessons on how to read a search result page. What is Wikipedia? Still important today. And then a lesson on plagiarism. All right, here's our AI and research unit. This is being expanded for next year. We're really excited about some new lessons coming, but already we have lessons in there. Here's a little teacher backgrounder so you know how to cover AI with some resources for you to go to if you want to learn more. Here is the send home parent letter with activities they can do together. As I mentioned earlier with Cyber Civics, we scaffold skills. And so to understand AI, you have to understand what an algorithm is. That's our first lesson in this unit. This is really fun. They actually make a paper airplane and write an algorithm for it because an algorithm is essentially a list of instructions. So very simple. And, it's simple, but yet it kind of underscores the fact that even though AI seems so incredible to us, it's a human that's writing those initial algorithms, right? So human the stuff. And that's the next lesson is what is artificial intelligence? Again, slides, if you don't know what it is, the lesson teaches itself. And there's a really fun activity here. Are you smarter than AI? Identifying images that AI still has trouble identifying. There's going to be a new lesson that comes next called AI and research, where we actually talk about those AI search results that kids are starting to get when they Google something. That's going to be really important for them to learn how to use them or not use them or how to evaluate them. And then will come this next lesson on generative AI. If you don't know what that is, it's basically ChatGPT, Perplexity, all these things we know kids are using right now. Research shows a high percentage of kids are using that stuff, but they're not using it in the way that we think. They're not using it to cheat or to write their essays. They're using it to learn more, which is kind of exciting because that's what we want. We want them to be another tool in their toolbox, right? We're also finding that a lot of schools don't really have guidelines yet on AI. So this might help your school create those guidelines. It basically gives them some ideas on how to use it in an ethical and smart and responsible way. For example, use it to get started on a project, or use it to get organized, or use it to get feedback. So again, it walks them through all those steps. All right, then we have a unit on personal information. And again, the kids have already learned that Google and all these AI things are collecting information for all these different reasons. And one of them is to target them with very specified information or advertising. And so that's what this unit is all about. So they read privacy policies and terms of agreement. And this is another great lesson. Algorithms are awesome, or are they? So they learn about how algorithms learn about them to really target them with specific information. And that it's a fun one to teach with kids because, you know, middle school kids don't like to be manipulated or told what to do. And when they learn that kind of the computer is doing that by the information it's collecting about them, it's a pretty powerful understanding. And then it moves on to filter bubbles. What makes a password great? What would you collect? And then our final unit for this level is copyright, fair use, and what's the other one? Public domain. And I hate doing this one last because, and if you're a teacher who's teaching cyber civics right now, absolutely make your way to the copyright unit. We do research every year and we've always found, you know, 10 years out of 10, kids love the copyright unit. And I think it's because there's so much creativity in it. Kids do love making things. They love being creative at this age. They make dance moves in this unit. They create art in this unit. So it's really a fun one to do with the students, and important too. They should understand, what does copyright mean in the age of AI? And that's really where we end level 2. And I am going to take a moment to show you this one. AI tools are creating art, and this art oftentimes is based on previous art that's already out there in the internet. So we talk about that, introduce them to what AI art is. And then I love the activity that comes with this. I don't know if you've heard about this, but there's a new painting out done by Rembrandt, even though he's dead. AI evaluated his work and then created a brand new Rembrandt. And so this brings up a lot of ethical questions regarding AI that we pose to the students. Who do you think should have copyright to this painting? How would you feel if your unique talents are replicated 300 years from now? How would you feel if your creative work was being used today without your permission or to create something new? And that's really happening today. And it's important for our kids who are growing up in this age of AI, who are going to be the ones who create new AI, whatever in the future, for them to have these ethical questions put in front of them and see, you know, what would they do or what do they think, and at least understand what's happening and how this stuff is created. Okay, so I am going to move now. Thank you for sticking with me, but you can see this stuff is all important, and I'm really happy to show you this level. It's my favorite one to teach for a couple of reasons. Media literacy, which is knowing how to evaluate information and also kind of having a moment because of this whole misinformation and all the stuff that's happening out there. But also, if you teach all the levels of cyber civics and get to this, your children or students are so well prepared for the really deep lessons that come in this level. I will say this is meant to be taught in 8th grade, but we have a lot of high schools that teach this as well. These lessons work great in high school. So anyway, let me get into it and you can see what I mean. So it's set up like the other ones: teacher resources, pre and post assessments. We start with a unit on a participatory culture. That's a term coined by scholar Henry Jenkins out of USC. And basically it means that all of us with these powerful tools, we're participating. We can make things, we can create things out there, and it's a ton of power. And we want students to, you know, be aware of that. And so we cover that in this unit. Your brain on tech, I'm sorry, Peter's not here to present this with me. He's my colleague, and this is his favorite lesson to teach. But it's really about how technology companies are creating these persuasive technologies that keep us addicted to our devices. Now, I use the word addicted very loosely because I don't like that term in terms of technology, because it's not really a medical diagnosis yet. And I think sometimes when kids hear us say they're addicted, it takes their power away, right? And it makes them think something's wrong with them. And what this lesson does is it shows them, hey, it's not your fault. Like, technology companies have spent billions and billions of dollars figuring out how to make you feel like you're addicted. And we want them to know what those technologies are. So we talk about things like the infinite scroll or the home screen design or typing indicators. And I love that because just giving kids that awareness makes them think twice when those things are happening to them. So great way to start this year. And then we move into our critical thinking unit, which is sort of the soul of this third level of cyber civics. So here is the teacher guide. This unit, we followed the research that was conducted by the Stanford History Education Group. They actually looked at real fact checkers to discover how they were assessing online information. And then they found out that they were asking themselves 3 questions. So that's what we teach the students. So there's a little backgrounder here if you're a teacher teaching this and you want to take a deeper dive. And then, as always, it's followed by the send home parent letter with activities they can do with their students or their children. I'm going to show you, this is probably our most important lesson. Some of these lessons definitely take more than one class period to get through. This is one of them because it's so important. You may want to even go back to it a couple times a year. And if you're not teaching cyber civics during English language arts, this is a great one that you should be, because it's just so applicable to everything they're going to read or see. So analyzing online information starts about, being a detective. We harken back to that term that they used in level 1. Teaches them lateral reading, which, as you know, is opening that second tab on your browser to conduct your investigation. And we tell the kids where the research comes from. So basically, the first question they suggest students ask themselves when they read something is, who is behind the information? Because all information is influenced by whoever wrote it. So we have a video that aligns with each of these 3 questions. Here's the first one.
With the internet literally at our fingertips, it's easy for anyone to post anything, anywhere, online, at any time. It's much, much more difficult to tell what's true, what's sort of true, and what is completely, well, bonkers.
Okay, so there's the first video, and then we give them a bunch of follow-up questions to ask. And then we move to question 2, what's the evidence? There's a video for that one. And then finally, question 3, what do other sources say about the author, organization, and the claims? I'm going to play the video that goes with question 3 because it's really pertinent to things that kids this age are actually dealing with.
The online world can be a great source of information. For example, many young people turn to popular social media platforms such as YouTube and TikTok for news on everything from current events to health and wellness. But did you know that credible research shows health information posted on TikTok is not completely reliable and may come from someone who is unqualified to give advice, or even from an organization looking to profit from the content?
It's really important for students to see that because research shows us that they're using TikTok and YouTube as their primary sources of information, much more so than Google. So for them to understand users who aren't professionals in this stuff, and they need to know how to assess the information that they see. And that's the activity that comes with this lesson, using the 3 essential questions to evaluate sources that we give them that actually come from online. All right, this is another unit that we're working on right now for next year. We're adding another lesson about evaluating AI information. So that will be new next year. And that moves us into our whole unit on misinformation. One thing I haven't mentioned is whenever we can in cyber civics, we try to put a little historical perspective in there because it's really important, especially when it comes to misinformation. I mean, misinformation just didn't happen with the invention of the internet. I mean, we've been duped years back, and we go back and show some examples of that. And then we talk about understanding fake news. Don't click on the bait, which is our clickbait lesson. And then, as I mentioned earlier, AI literacy lessons are embedded throughout cyber civics. Here's another example. AI in terms of news is very, very pertinent. In this particular lesson, we talk about what's called the deep fake, and that's when an image or video has been altered to misrepresent a person's likeness and show them saying or doing something that they never said or did. We're seeing that more and more online. So this gives kids tools on how to detect it and a little fun activity that they can do. I love this one because it gives them 2 articles to read. One was written by AI, one was written by a real journalist, and then 2 images. One was generated by AI, one was not. They have to detect which is which. I would challenge you to try to do that because it's really hard. And then the other thing I haven't mentioned is almost every cyber civics lesson. This is vocabulary that they're going to need in their lives. So all of these terms are important. And here in our downloads, you can download this information in the student packets, and we give it you two different ways. Fillable is they fill it out online, and printable is you just print it out and hand it to the student. So depending on your style at your school, we give it to you both ways. Then we move into stereotypes and misinformation. I love this one, the ad who knows you. So as they've learned through all their lessons, the internet's collecting all this information. And it's really putting us in these little micro-targeted groups in order oftentimes to sell us things. A great example of this is Facebook. So for this lesson, the kids have to create a Facebook ad for a specific target audience that we've given them. So another creative hands-on activity. Visual literacy, I often feel like this unit needs its whole year, because we know that right now kids are getting so much of their information visually, and that's what this unit is all about. We want them to be able to read, write, and create visual images, but also be able to understand those images when they see them. So we've got, I think there's 5 lessons in that unit. And then sex education, I'm going to show you this because I'm really excited about this unit changing next year. We are going to turn it into digital health and wellness. Very appropriate for our times. We have lessons from, well, we start with a lesson called Healthy Relationships Online and Off. Then we cover sextortion, revenge porn, AI imagery, sexting, of course, and then chatbots, which are huge right now. You've probably heard kids are establishing a relationship with these AI things called chatbots. We want to talk about that in terms of what's a real relationship. So all of these things are very timely, and so excited to be able to add that to the curriculum next year. Our final unit kind of brings us full circle about the power is in your hands. And we want kids to know, like, you can use this stuff in really powerful, wonderful ways. And the best way for me to show you that is I'll just play the very last video for you here. Talks about how people have participated with media differently throughout history, and here we go.
It's tempting to dismiss social media as a frivolous waste of time, and let's be honest, sometimes it is. There's nothing wrong with using social media for entertainment, but it can also be an immensely effective tool for civic, economic, environmental, and political engagement and activism. In fact, it's been used by many people around the world to advocate for change, to bring awareness to pressing issues, and even raise money for causes. A simple post can wield a surprising amount of power. It can change the day for just one person, or the world for many. All of this makes social media an important tool for engagement.
I always love that. It can change the world for lots of people or just one person. So if I can leave children with that message after 4 years of cyber civics, I think that's wonderful. The other thing I love about this lesson is we know right now kids are really influenced by influencers that they follow on social media, especially as they start getting to late middle school, high school. And so we wanted them to think about that. Like, who do you listen to? Who are the influencers that influence you? And what kind of messages are they putting out into the world? And is that really the kind of influencer that you think is making a positive impact? So I love ending the year with that. And then the other thing I haven't shown you is just, you know, at the very end, we have these lessons that kind of do a quick review on information literacy skills that we talked about the previous year. As they go into high school, we want them to know how to do things like how to cite right. So many of the citations they're going to use in their papers come from online sources, and we want them to know how to appropriately cite them. So that's just a little extra in 8th grade. So I've gone through all that really fast. I love doing this in person because sometimes I get a whole day with teachers and we can go through all the lessons and it's a lot of fun. But I always end with a question and say, gosh, if you had to go through my whole curriculum here and take out just one lesson, what lesson would it be? And they all look at me like, gosh, you know what? It's all important. And I think that way too. I don't know that I would take anything out. I think it's all super important. So thank you so much for spending the time with me. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to any of us at Cyber Civics at support@cybercivics.com. You can find us at www.cybercivics.com. And one last word, if you don't teach cyber civics, that's okay, but please teach something in relation to digital literacy. It's a really, really complex and confusing world for students. So any education you can give them in this area is very important today. So thanks again, and please feel to reach out if you have any questions. Have a great day.